Hold on for a second. I just wanted to check something here. Oh, hang on. Ah, darn. All right. Here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Service MVP podcast. I am America's Service Sales Coach, Joe Crisara. And on today's show, our inaugural episode, we do have with us one of my very best and dearest friends. His name, he's famous regionally in the New England area, but he has now become a worldwide phenomena after many years of having a friendship with me. I'd like to introduce my friend, Rick Picard. Rick, welcome to the Service MVP podcast for our first episode. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, Joe, I'm so honored that you would invite me for a inaugural, I can't even say that word, inaugural first episode.
There you go.
And I'm honored to be here.
Well, Rick, today's show, we're going to call an interesting subject. It's called giving yourself the gift of responsibility. When I asked you, I said, well, I got some subjects. Of course, they're all kind of salesy subjects. And you like, well, Joe, I think this is the one we should do first to make sure that let's start out with this. And you call it the gift of responsibility, right? And so, Rick, let's talk about it. This show is made for service professionals who are trying to achieve better results. And you are a guy. Tell us a little bit about your background and the different results you've gotten, so people can understand, where you started and where you're at right now.
Yeah, I started out as a service installer. Matter of fact, I installed my first furnace in 1979. So I'm aging myself a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, I went through the ranks as a service guy and installer. And then I became a salesperson. So I've been serving my customers in the sales aspect for probably 20 years now. And with your help and some good coaching from you and some hard work from myself, I've done pretty well. I mean, I'm on pace to do 12 million in sales this year. So I think one of the things that's helped me the most to be effective is what the topic we're going to talk about tonight is about responsibility.
That's really great, Rick. And throughout the our relationship, I did see kind of like you gain momentum in this area too. I mean, when I first met you, you're like, Joe, what can I do? I mean, the competition's already charging $1,800 for a furnace, and I'm at $2,500. Remember back in the day? I mean, what was that? 2000. It sounds ridiculous to even say numbers like that, doesn't it?
I know it does.
That's it. But it was like 2007, I think it was, or something like that. And you're like, I'm already $700 higher, Joe. You can't do anything about that. And you're right. You were kind of in denial of the responsibility a little bit. And I said, well, Rick, the problem is you're only $700 higher. It should be 20,000 higher. And then people got something to talk about. And it kind of blew your mind, I think, at the time. And you kind of saw that, I think, when you and I got together. That I think it's part of our relationship is built on that, right? That we built it on the thing that neither one of us would just blame things that was outside their control. We always tried to think of things that we could control. Now, Rick, can you give us some examples of what you see that just in normal human interactions about how responsibility is so important?
Yeah, let me talk, and that's why I was thinking about this. But what I want to say, I think you just mentioned something about in 2007. This is why the responsibility is the key. All right. Once I had the key, and once you helped me understand that I had to take responsibility for my results and I could change the results, the heavens opened up for me, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean, and everything made a difference. But I was relating to something that happened personally, where I saw the importance of responsibility. This is even in a relationship. My daughter and son-in-law are having some problems, and they've been fighting a lot lately. And believe it or not, they asked me to come help. All right.
Wow, I didn't know you had marriage counseling. It's a side job of marriage counseling. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, my wife rolled her eyes, but
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But they asked for help, and when I went down and I listened to him speak, the thing I noticed first is both of them were too busy blaming the other person for what was going on. All right, that they couldn't see that instead of focusing on what they did to cause the other person to be upset and then how they reacted, they were focused on how they reacted. There was no responsibility at all. So, if you don't want her packing your bags and telling you to get out, maybe you can think about what you did to make her that angry. All right.
I get it.
So, right. So they were too busy pointing the finger at each other that they didn't realize that without taking responsibility, there's no growth. Right. So the reason they've been stuck where they've been for a long while now is because neither of them could grow because they weren't taking responsibility. If it's the other person's fault, then there's no reason to change.
So you think there's a direct correlation between personal and it could just be human growth, let's say growth inside of us, and there's a direct diagram that would say the more responsibility we begin to take, the more we begin to grow as a person.
Right. I absolutely believe that. I mean, to me, I think that's the biggest thing that's helped me the most, just, take responsibility. I mean, we hear it right from salespeople, right? All the excuses they come up with of why they don't sell. And you don't usually say, well, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. What they're saying is customer's too cheap, the company's too expensive, the economy's bad. Everything's externalized, things that they really can't change.
Well, let me go back and ask about your daughter and your son-in-law there.
Yeah.
Is your son-in-law or future son-in-law?
Future son-in-law.
Future son-in-law. He's a great guy, I know.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question about that. Did they see the light on that? Did they see the situation? When did the log jam break on that one? Did they? We didn't hear the end of the story, right? You're like Monica rolled her eyes when you said you were going to do it. So was she right, or did you achieve any success in that counseling session? When did it break loose? Or tell us that.
Yeah, I really did. It took an hour or so or longer. I was there for quite a while. I was there for a couple of hours listening to them both. And when I kept on talking about looking at themselves instead of looking at the person, a little light came on. All right. And my son-in-law said to me, you know what? I don't know why I didn't figure this out earlier, but I know there's certain trigger points to get her upset. And I don't take responsibility for slitting that switch off. All right. And now I got to see if I didn't switch that switch off, she wouldn't have did what she did. And my daughter said the same thing. I know that I shouldn't say certain things. And sometimes I indulge myself by saying mean stuff, even though I don't mean it. I mean, I got to take responsibility for that. So since that happened a month or so ago, I saw them for a birthday party on Sunday, and they said things have been going much better. They've been both focused on themselves and what they can do to improve, to show their love for their mate, and things have been going much better. They feel like they've really, jumped the hurdle. They really, they're on the other side of the mountain, I think.
Yeah, I think that's really a key indication of any relationship, whether it's a marriage, a friendship, or whether it's professional. Like in a way, I always say we give our unconditional friendship to every client, right? That's really what we're doing. It's in a way I say, I'm even giving my client for the moment I'm in their house, more of my attention than I give my own family in a way. So
right.
I'm kind of becoming part of that, right? And I will tell you a story. I had a story with a coworker here at Service MVP where, she was negative in one of the meetings, and I'm like, we can't have that. I was telling Julie, my partner, I said, we gotta fire that person because she's so negative. And Julie's like, Joe, didn't you see what you did during the meeting that made her like that? And I said, no, I mean, I was just brought up the normal stuff. And she says, well, why don't you think about it? And so I thought about it. I'm like, oh yeah, when she tried to ask a question, I told her it's not important to bring that up right now, and I just shut her down. And after that, she got negative. I said, I get it. So I went back and apologized to that person, and she started crying. Actually, she's like, well, I'm glad to see you realize it. And he goes, I'm sorry, I got negative too. So it kind of inspired her to take responsibility at the same time. And we just gave each other a hug and said, yeah, sorry about this. I got you off on the wrong foot, and I'm the leader, and I kind of stepped on your toes there, right? So I think as many times we have a blind spot when it comes to this. Rick, what do you think about that? Is that true? Like your daughter,
Definitely, it's true. Here these two people loved each other and cared for each other, but they couldn't see it. You know what I mean? So sometimes, it's like Julie just reminded you about taking responsibility. Me just reminding them about taking responsibility, and also, when I was giving them an advice, I thought about myself. Do I always take responsibility in my marriage? Is there things that I do that I probably shouldn't do? It's things that I could do to make my marriage even better. So it's just good advice for us all the way around.
Yeah, you're giving yourself counseling while you're counseling your daughter and your son and your future son-in-law, right? At the same time.
Right.
Well, Rick, this is obviously a business podcast about how
Right.
people can be successful there. How does that kind of a story relate? Talk about somebody's future marriage. How does a future marriage relate to our clients and dealing with people like that? How does this responsibility help us get better results with our clients? I guess is the question.
Well, it's the same thing. If you think about it, we're going to have a long relationship with our customers, maybe a 20-year relationship, right? In a new system we might have them purchase or whatever, how long the relationship's going to be. We're like almost married to the customer, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, you probably see there's probably
Yeah.
generations of people who use Rodenhiser, probably the
Right.
father and then the kids and then the grandkids. I mean, there's
Right.
probably 3 generations of people who could use the company, right? So it is
Yeah.
you're in the family in a way, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
so where does it start? How does that manifest itself in that kind of relationship with the client? And then where does the client see the benefits of that responsibility that you're taking for the opportunity here?
Well, if we see it's going to be a long-term relationship with them, right, we're going to make sure that we give them all the solutions from the most premium to most mid-range to most economy. All right, because we care for them like a family member. We're going to make sure they have all the solutions. We're going to make sure we offer the safety, dependability, all the efficiency, all these different things that we would want our family to have. We want to make sure that they can see we feel the same way about them, and that in this relationship they can depend on us, and we're going to take responsibility for whatever and stand behind whatever we do.
So you have these tangible things like things you can see, like the options, taking the time to write down the solutions and things like that, and making maybe the warranties and the services are tangible things that you put into your solutions that people can see that, wow, that's different. There's more choices than other people are giving me, and the choices are more personalized. Right? There's things you can see. What are some of the intangible things that you can't really see, but they still kind of feel it in a way? They feel like, this is like there comes a time in every kind of a sale, and you probably ever see this, where it's like, this is the kind of person I want to do business with. And then, it's like, it's a time that nobody has to say anything about it. They just kind of, it emerges like that. You know what I'm saying there? So tell me what element this taking responsibility and what intangible things happen that you can do that really can't be seen, but they can be felt with the customers. What do you think?
Well, I think it's important, right? I think the customer has to see or feel that your motive for them is pure, right? We talk about pure motive service a lot, right? So, when a customer can intangibly just feel that you're looking out for their best interest, not your own, right? Sometimes you can get an objection that people want to delay the installation, and if you give every reason why they shouldn't do that, that's focused on you and not on them, right? Then they're going to say, well, this person doesn't really care about me, right? But if you're focused on them and, listen, we're afraid this thing might break down when it's really cold or really hot, or we're concerned that the price increase of equipment right now is going up all the time. You know what I mean? We're concerned about the availability of equipment. We're worried that you're not going to get the comfort, safety, dependability that you need, efficiency you need. People can see that your motive is about them, not yourself.
Even if it means losing the job, right? I mean, have you ever had a situation where you said, the way you're asking me to do this for you, I wouldn't be giving you my best service, so it wouldn't make sense for me to do the job for you if I wasn't able to do the service the right way. Have you ever had scenarios where you took responsibility there and said, I feel like it wouldn't be good service if I went ahead and did it a way you're trying to get me to do, like emailing a proposal, for instance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right there. Try that.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly what I was going to say. I mean, we're offering solutions to the customer. So can you just email it to me? All right. Or just can you just give it to me and I give it to my husband? All right. Or my wife, well, that's just bad service. I mean, I wouldn't be right for me to ask you to do my job, and for me to ask you to try to explain all this. What if he has a question you don't have the answer to, and I put you in that position? Right. So I wouldn't feel right. That was just bad service, and I don't do bad service. I only do good service. Right.
So you kind of refuse to. If you can't do it right, don't do it at all. And that's something I think that's some of those things I think people get a sense like it can't be seen really, but it's like, wow, that's the kind of person I want to do business with. He doesn't care if he gets the job, but if he does get it, he wants to get it done right. Does that make sense there?
Right. And he's not going to ask me to do his job and try to explain things to my husband like everybody else did.
Well, even like responsibility, like, sometimes we get afraid because when I start talking about solutions in today's world, like if you did like a ductless solution with like a boiler, things like you're doing, I'm sure you see many solutions that go over $50,000, right? I mean, is that fact? Would you see that?
Yes,
You see,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yep.
So you see that. So you like to take responsibility for that $50,000 price tag. You say, well, what can I do to break this down into something that could be affordable, right? And so, what else could be done in that regard to make sure that salespeople take responsibility for the affordability of a solution? Could you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, of course, they want to make sure that this way they offer opportunities of different ways for them to pay for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, financing options, that type of thing. And also by giving different solutions, then you're also giving them other opportunities for something that's not as premium.
So you got some more economical things at the bottom, the most premium things at the top, and the most premium things, even those things, you're breaking it down into a monthly payment so that people have the gift of affordability there, right? And that's
right.
I think a lot of times people are like, I think a client's like, wow, does this guy think I'm going to spend 50,000? I mean, does he really go around message like what's wrong with me? I mean, think about the decrease of the customer self-esteem that again, not taking responsibility where we're thinking like, what, they should have 50,000. Like, come on, who? I mean, of course, you and I probably got 50,000 later on, but not everybody does. I mean, the real people don't got that kind of money hanging around. So, I mean, I think that financing itself is something that I think that you're taking there is something, a gift of responsibility. Even the warranty and the service. Like, how far would you say the warranty and service should extend on your premium option? Would you say?
Yeah, at least 10 years, parts, labor, and service, right? So they can't worry about it for 10 years. If they're going to invest a premium with me and with our company, they're going to make sure we stand behind it and we're there to take care of them.
Yeah, and so that's itself, again, we're taking responsibility. As a matter of fact, when you handle an objection, you could even say, well, the top option, we take all the responsibility, and the bottom option. So the word responsibility or accountability go together very closely. And I think you can definitely demonstrate responsibility in your solutions. I think that's obviously, if you're selling at, what is that? It's like $250,000 a week, isn't it? If you do 12 million a year, how much?
I think it's a little more than that. Let me see, because 250,000 times 52 weeks is 13 million. So it's right. Yeah. So, but 200,000, 225,000 a week, I think, in that range.
Yeah, 225, 230. You probably hit 250, only 200 something. So when you're doing that, and then that does bring up something that is interesting, because now when you're doing that, you're taking external customer responsibility by making sure they have the service agreement and differentiating with those ways of doing it. How do you now take this with the internal team? Because there's another customer, there's the internal customers, right? And I know that when I first met you, you did have some drama with coworkers when I first met. Like, everybody hates the best sales guy in the company, right? You lived up to that too. You were you lived up to it really great at that time. You were really great at making people hate you in the company. So tell us what you learned from that experience and what you did when you went to a great company like Rodenheiser and you turned over a new leaf, literally yourself. You didn't leave blaming all your old coworkers. You left saying, I got to make a change in me. I remember you came to me and said, what can I do for this next job? Because I don't want to get back into that kind of situation. Right, Rick? What happened? Tell me, how did you serve the customer?
Yeah, I think you get into a trap, all right? Because as a high-level salesman, you're making a lot of promises, and you want to make sure that those promises are fulfilled. All right. Because you don't want to lie to your customers. All right. So you put a lot of demands on other people. And if things don't work out the way you think you should, then you kind of get to be a prima donna and say, well, listen, I promise this, we need this to happen. But I think what you said to me that helped me a lot is, well, yes, things on that job didn't work out perfectly. But what responsibility, what could you have done better to change that? Could your communication have been better, right? Could you maybe talked about maybe putting the right person, the right team on that job? Let's look at everything that could have been done, that maybe you could have taken more responsibility for the outcome of that job. All right, instead of blaming everybody else that didn't go good, what could you have done differently?
That's exactly
right?
it. That's exactly it.
And the same thing happens like with service technicians. Sometimes you have salespeople. You say to a sales, you talk to the service guy. Says, so who? When's the last time you talked to Rick? Rick who? When's the last time? When was the last time Rick went to a service meeting? Right? That type of thing, right? So, salesmen, let's face it. My internal customer, my one of my best customers is the service techs, right? So helping them see that we're on the same team. We go to a service meeting, we bring them coffee and donuts, thank them for all the help we do. Also, we help them provide better service to the customer, better options to the customers, how to overcome objections with the customer. We help them. We're part of the same team. All right. So it's not only what they can give me, it's what I can share with them.
That's amazing. And even for the installers, I can't tell you how many times I hear Rick, salespeople saying, "Yeah, I wish I could sell more. I can't sell what Rick does. I could never get my guys to do that much work." And I'm like, well, Rick has a delivery process. His project management process is part of the responsibility he takes there. I mean, tell us about that part, Rick, because people are saying, yeah, okay, if I got lucky one week, I might be able to sell 225,000, but I don't think I could ever get my team to do that much. What's the shift in responsibility it takes to serve the installation team to make sure they can get the job done too? Tell me about that.
Right. We have to make sure that we have the right people doing the right thing at the right time, right? So, I have information. I'm communicating to the project manager. The project manager is making sure he gets everything properly, the bill of materials together and everything delivered properly, so we can make sure that we're doing everything we can to make the install team as productive as they can be.
That's great. And so in a way, you said, what can I do to get the installation team more productive? And so how much involvement do you have with the project management team to make sure they have everything they need? I mean, how much do you go to them and say, what can I do to make this work easier for you, those people? Tell me about that.
Oh, we have conversations all the time. So we use video a lot, right? So what can I do? Well, Rick, slow down a little bit in the video and, learn to pan instead of zip, right? Just even simple things like that, like what I can do to make sure the information that I've promised the customer what we're going to do and what the job entails, making sure I take my time and do a good video, and then they watch all those videos every week before the jobs to make sure they have everything they need to do it. So also attending those meetings to see, all right, how's the sales team doing with giving that information? Again, it's taking responsibility. Instead of just complaining the job's not coming in on time, well, what are you doing to make sure you're giving the information according to the right equipment, and make sure your paperwork is right, has all the right components on it? All right. It doesn't really help if they get the wrong equipment out there and it doesn't fit or whatever the thing is. So again, taking responsibility is going to help you, because now they can install more jobs because you're not putting impediments in their way.
Wow, Rick, you know what? They always say a good podcast starts on time, but a great one ends on time. And I can't believe 20 minutes just breezed by, which proves that a conversation with you and I, 20 minutes, we could go on for 3 hours, and that would seem like 20 minutes, but it is up. Rick, I want to say thank you again for your time and taking the effort and time to help all the service professionals out there who are trying to do pure motive service, which I really believe that in their heart, by the way, Rick is the guy who invented that phrase. He coined the phrase. Do I owe you any money for that, Rick, or is that just that was a tip? Was that a tip?
Oh, you can send me money. I'll take it.
You would, wouldn't you? All right,
I would. I'd take it.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, well, we'll try and hook you up. We'll see what we could do, but we'll see how famous we become here at the Pure Motive Service. But he actually coined that phrase, and we've definitely used it, and it's in everybody's heart. And definitely, Rick, thank you for being the source of that. Definitely, and that's why I brought you on first. And by the way, if you want to see more of this podcast, we have a little thing called Overtime. You go to servicemvp.com and you'll see this podcast there, and you'll see other Overtime sections with Rick and I talking about the same subject of responsibility. I want to say to everybody, thank you for being here on our first podcast. We look forward to seeing you in the future. And don't forget, if you go to servicemvp.com for only $35 a month, if you pay for the whole year, or $50 a month, you can get this kind of great information. Or if you want to attend a live event, go to tisummit.com and attend a total immersion, which Rick attended here too himself. Definitely, Rick. Again, thank you, Rick, for being here today. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for inviting me, Joe. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.